Okay, let's go ahead and get started. So good morning and welcome to the October meeting of Board of Adjustments. My name is Larry Otterback. It's 9 o'clock and we are now in session. We have two items docketed this morning. The procedures will be the same. Here in a second, I'm going to swear in staff. Then we'll have Mr. Board Member Riley read the case. Staff will come forward to the podium and give us a staff report. There'll be a round of questioning by board members to staff. And when we're done with that, staff's going to take a seat. I'm going to call you forward, the applicant. You'll come forward. There's mics in the podium, so we'll have to make sure we speak into the podium. But you'll come forward, state your name and address, raise your right hand, be sworn in, and justify your project. When you're done with that, there's going to be a round of questioning by the board members to you. When we're done, you can take a seat. I'll call forward anybody that wishes to speak in favor if anybody shows up. And those opposed, those in favor will have 10 minutes to discuss why they're in favor. Same thing with those opposed. They'll have 10 minutes to tell us why they're opposed. Same thing, I'll call them forward if there is anybody. They'll come forward, raise their right hand, state their name and address, be sworn in, and tell us why they're in favor and opposed. Again, there'll be a round of questioning by board members to those individuals, and when we're done, they'll take a seat. You'll have time to come forward for rebuttals, and then final statements. There'll be a time for board members to question anybody in the audience, and when we're done with that, I'm going to close the floor for public hearing, open it up for general discussion on the board members, and then we'll call for a vote. Okay? And with that, let's go ahead and swear staff in.
Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Okay. Real quick, board members, make sure your mics are on, phones are off, and out in the audience as well, make sure your phones are off. If you need to use your phone, just please excuse yourself from the courtroom and just make sure it's off when you come back in. Okay, Board Member Riley, would you like to read the first one, please?
All right. Docket OC 19-034 has been withdrawn.
Okay. Go ahead with the second one, please.
Docket OC 19-036. An application has been filed requesting a maximum floor area variance for a proposed accessory structure located at 2603 Gardner Court, LaGrange.
Okay, Amy?
All right, good morning. Amy Alvey, I'm the Assistant Director for Planning and Development. As Mr. Riley stated, this is an application requesting a maximum floor area variance for a proposed accessory structure at 2603 Gardner Court here in LaGrange. The property is zoned R1 residential. It is lot 515 of Boric Farms and is approximately 1.2 acres. This is an aerial view of the property. You'll see it is at the terminus of Kinlock Road and Gardner Court. This is just a zoomed out version as well. Again, Kinlock Road dead ends to Gardner Court, and then the back of the property backs up to Interstate 71. This is the current zoning, shows that it is R1 residential, and then the area along I-71 corridor is zoned CO1 conservation. This is shows the existing driveways highlighted in the hashed areas, and then the gray areas are the structures. This again comes from our GIS. There currently is a detached 936 square foot garage. It's 36 by 26 that was constructed in June of 1981. The applicant is proposing a 1,920 square foot, which is a 40 by 48 detached garage on the property. The building would be used to store the applicant's Class A RV, which is too tall and too long to fit in the current 36 by 26 garage. This is the site plan that was submitted with the application. Here is the existing house, then green is the existing garage, and then this is the proposed garage. According to the applicant's drawing, the proposed garage will be 6 feet from garage to garage. It'll be 8 feet off the left side property line. The requirement is 5 feet. It is 90 feet from the fence line. So they're saying it's 90 feet from the rear property line and then 160 feet from the street. Again, this is, just kind of gives you an overview of where it would go on the property. This is a rendering that was provided by the applicant in their application of what the building will look like. Per section 250.030, item B, the total maximum floor area for accessory structures for lots between 1 acre to 2.99 acres is 1,800 square feet, and the maximum number of accessory structures allowed is 2. This subject property is 1.2 acres, so it falls in this category. The total square footage is 1,056 square feet over the allowable 1,800 for the total combined for the existing and the proposed. Per the applicant's justification statement, at the time they purchased the RV, they were unaware of the zoning restrictions limiting the size of the accessory structures and don't want to pay to store it off-site or relocate to a different area. If not granted the variance, it would deprive them of being able to build a reasonable size building to store the RV and other vehicles in, and are also not encroaching into any easements. Granting the variance would increase the safety of the neighborhood by eliminating the temptation of vandalism by having the RV stored inside the building and not in the open. And finally, the design of the building is common to the area and will also increase tax value and revenue to the county. So this is at the intersection of Kinlock Road and Gardner Court. So this is the applicant's home here. This is the existing detached garage, and you can see the RV there. So this is just a zoomed in version of the applicant's home. This is the east view, so this is the property to the right in the cul-de-sac. This is the south view, so this is standing at the driveway looking back down Kinlock. This is the west view. This is the west adjoining property owner. This is just a zoomed in version of their driveway, so you can see the existing RV and how it does not fit in the existing garage. And this shed here is 10 by 12, so it does not count into the number of accessory structures or the square footage allowances. This is, they actually have stakes up of where the footprint was going to go of the building, so this drawing shows where the footprint of the proposed garage will go. It's kind of hard to see on your screen, but there is stakes in these four corners there. So that kind of gives you an idea of where the garage will go. And then this is a scaled drawing in our GIS system. Again, we always say that our property lines are just an overlay. So this shows the survey, the meets and bounds from the plat book. But it also, this is a scaled drawing here of the 40 by 48 to let you know what it would look like on the lot. Again, this is the stakes where the red arrows are. Those were the stakes that were put in. So in summary, an application has been filed requesting a maximum floor area variance for proposed accessory structure. The allowable square footage is 1,800. The requested square footage is 2,856, and so the variance amount requested is 1,056. Be happy to answer any questions.
Amy, if we could go back through the pictures again. Actually, let's go back, right there. Hang on, I want to look through these slowly. Go to the next one. Next. Hang on. All right, next. 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 That one, hang on.
Sorry.
Yeah, I know. This right there, that building there, What building is that?
That's on this house.
Okay,
It's not on the applicant's property.
gotcha. Okay, all right, next one. Next. Next. Okay, next one. Hang on. Okay. All right, I think I'm good, thank you. Any other questions for Amy?
When I'm looking at the R1 district, on the minimum side yard setback, it says 15 feet, yet you refer to 5.
That's the primary structure. Accessory structures can be 5 feet from property lines, side and rear.
What's the size of the primary structure?
The first floor is 1532 and the finished basement is 925. So the finished square footage of the home is 2457.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, thank you, Amy.
To the drawing here, hold on.
And if we can have the applicant come forward. Morning.
Morning.
Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
State your name and address.
I'm Darlene Lasley, 2603 Gardner Court, LaGrange.
Mike Lasley, 2603 Gardner Court, LaGrange.
And if you could justify the project.
I just want to, like she said, build a garage to house my RV, keep it out of the weather.
Okay,
We do have our neighbor that it remotely affects, next door, the one with the shed you saw. We did get him to sign something to bring, he's fine with it.
let me see that, please.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, cool.
And I thought it was Juan Ambrinez, but that's his whole name, so I kind of wrote it wrong at the top.
And if you could, Amy, if you could, I guess, point out on the map which neighbor that is, please. Any of the map. Very good, thanks. Good, thank you. Do you need a copy of that back, or do you need that back?
I don't have a copy, but I don't need one. I mean, it's,
Very good, thank you. Okay, questions?
So what size is your RV?
It's 34 foot long.
Sorry?
34 foot long.
And, okay. In your justification statement, the question, what's in there, let me hold that up so I can quote it. You talk about it being reasonable. So give me a second to find it. So I understand what you're trying to accomplish with the RV. However, when I look at the width of a vehicle, and I know RVs are probably closer to the 8 foot than a general car is 6 foot.
Right.
So if you take 40 by 48, then I look at that and I say, well, I understand why you need the 40 because you just told me it's 34
Right,
foot long.
right.
But then if you look at the layout of that, effectively you're making it where it's could be 6 wide. You could store vehicles 6 wide.
Right.
And then in a space that's 40 foot deep, you could store cars 3 deep.
Right.
So even if you said the one side was for the RV, in terms of size, which is what we're talking about, the additional space left over is enough for 5 wide and 3 deep, so that'd be enough to store, assuming, I know you might store other things and not use
Right.
the whole thing, but the square footage then allows for as many as 15 additional cars in that square footage space, when you look at the average length of a vehicle and the average width of a
Right.
vehicle. So in terms of reasonableness, what I'm trying to understand is, an excess that what you're talking about is you're nearly just short of 60% above the rules that says 1,800 square feet. You're over 2,800 square feet. So I'm trying to understand, with your justification, it refers to the RV, but then we're talking about way bigger than the RV, because the RV will take up less than 1/6 of the space of the proposed structure.
Right.
So help me understand.
Future, maybe a boat in the future that would take up a pretty good part of it. Probably gonna build me a street rod. There's another spot for something. I've got a trailer, an 8x14 utility trailer I'm gonna put in there and get out of the weather. So I figured it'd be about 2/3 full if all that takes place.
Amy, can you flip to another shot? I apologize for continuing to keep you up and down. Just with a shot of more properties, please.
You want a zoomed out?
Yeah, zoomed out. Right there, that's fine. Okay, so I'm going toward the general character of the area. You guys already have the existing primary residence with an existing 936 detached accessory dwelling or accessory unit. You're asking for a 19, close to 2,000 square foot, an additional structure. Talk to me about general character of the area and your neighbors. I don't see any other structures on any of the other neighbors as large or as many. Talk to me about the general character of the area. Do any of your neighbors have similar structures?
I don't think there's any, do you?
I don't
Nothing I
think
know of. Nobody's got anything like that, I don't think.
This is the only house here that has a detached accessory structure. It's 30 by 40 on this property
That's the
here,
only one I know of.
on the street.
Okay. Okay, any other questions?
I think you see the core of our questions is
Why did I want it so big?
why so much? Because, see, if we go by the standards, okay, the standards say 1,800. Well, that means you would only be able to build, what's that, 936? So you'd only be able to build something similar in size than what you already have. To go a variance above that, I understand. You're saying, I have a big motorhome, I get where you're going, and some variance, but as the variance gets bigger, it gets harder to say that it fits within the character of the area.
Okay.
It's harder to say that that's justified. So you can hear in some of the questions we've asked, that's why the struggle is, it's a variance is, I think, easier to do when it's not so much above the standard. When it gets bigger and higher percentage of the standard, it becomes harder and harder to justify us approving that.
Okay.
That's the nature of the struggle.
Okay.
That's where we're headed from. I'm not sure I'm asking a question more than making a
Right.
comment, so you're
Right.
aware of what we're leading towards.
So building a structure similar to what you currently have, that would fit the RV, that would not require you to be here. Tell me what the hardship is with that.
It's just not big enough.
Well, we're thinking eventually, because we have an RV, we're gonna get something to tow behind it, like a little truck or something, and we don't want it sitting out. We already have one car that sits out. And then our trailer, we're gonna get it out, and then if we get a golf cart to tow behind the RV, when we camp a lot. So we've lost our ability with a vehicle with the RV. So we're just trying to plan in the future, because we wanna stay here and not move again, so we're just trying to plan it now, growing. And to keep all this stuff off the road, the driveway we have.
Okay. All right, any additional questions? Okay, very good,
Yeah,
thank you.
yeah, I'm sorry, I do have additional questions. I guess my question is, because I can't anticipate what the rest of the members are doing, but I can tell you that right now I'm struggling with voting in favor
Okay.
based on the sheer size. So I guess my question is there something that's not as big that would still be desirable, but not, I understand what you're submitting is what your
Right.
desire is. And I just understand
Right.
it's not, it would not be as desirable. I'm trying to figure out, is there a place to meet somewhere between the standard and where we're at that would be more palatable for approval for this board, so that you could move forward with something, because we haven't been through the whole process yet, so
Right.
who knows, but I guess my question is there something else that might allow it to be more likely to be approved?
You know, I gotta have the 40-foot long. I mean, if I'm gonna do it, I gotta do 40-foot long.
Okay.
I guess 30 by 40, that's not what I want, that's not the point.
Right.
If I can do that, I'd probably be all right with that, if that's what I have to do.
And then I guess the other question then that I was looking at is location. So I'm asking a different question I don't think we've thing. In terms of location, Amy, can you put up the one with the, no, yeah, the one where you took the pins and, yeah. How far is the edge of that to the neighbor's buildings over there?
It's 8 foot off his property line.
I'm gonna say from his building to there, to the edge of that would be 60, 70 feet or more,
Okay,
if I had to guess.
so, yeah, and that's all, I understand.
Yeah, if I
you
had to
don't know the
guess
exact
60,
measure.
70 feet, she gonna draw it out,
Okay, so it's some distance.
yes.
And he just moved in. I don't know if he's gonna keep that.
Sure, yeah, and I appreciate you saying that. I appreciate that. So, what you're saying is, if you, we're being theoretical here for a second.
Okay.
If you were to make it not quite as big, it would still go the same distance
Same-
towards the
yes, sir.
neighbor's property?
Same length, yes.
Okay.
Talk to me about the general character of the proposed structure itself. Is it same look and feel, building material as the existing detached? Either of those? Okay. That's
That's-
what you're
yes, sir.
looking at? Okay.
That's much smaller.
Yeah.
That one there, I think on the picture, that was 30 by 42 or 30 by 40 something. I don't remember.
And the height, how high is it?
The doors would be 14, so 16 foot. Doors would be 14 foot tall, plus two above, 16 feet.
You said reasonably, you could go down to 30 feet?
Yes, sir.
40 by 30? What about 25?
It would be 30 wide and 48 deep. I need
48.
48, yes, deep. So 30. We could go 30, what? Yeah,
It'd be 48,
48
48 deep, 30 wide.
Mhm.
I am too.
40, 1,600, so it'd be under 1,600. 48 wide.
So that would make it, the total aggregate, if I did my math right, would be the two accessory structures, then would be 2376, which would make it 576 square feet over the 1,800, which means it would take it from almost just short of 60% over the 1,800 to just over 30% over, which is the way I did the math. I don't know if you were doing something different.
No, I was doing the same thing. All right. Okay. All right, any other questions? All right, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right, seeing nobody else in the audience, nobody here to speak in favor or opposed, no final statements. Board members, questions for anybody in the audience? Yes, Jim?
I'm not sure what is a standard package width, or, you know, if you start saying, okay, what about this size, if that becomes a custom. So I just want to offer that maybe you consider up to an amount, as opposed to saying it's got to be only a certain, because again, if you don't know where doors are and what standard packages
Great
might be.
point. Great point, thank you.
I think, I appreciate that, because what you're looking out for is our residents of our county, who you don't want to pack them into something that makes them do a custom thing and it costs a lot more.
And then they come in and they go, well, there is no such thing. We deal with signs the same way. We changed our sign regulations because there was no sign that ever fit this particular niche. So we increased the size, I think, by not much, but again, that was an industry standard. So that's what I'm suggesting, is that we be careful about what might be an industry standard. And they come in and they go, well, we can't get that size. We have to custom that size. You know, pitch of the roof, trusses, all that kind of stuff. So.
Thanks. All right, any other questions for anybody else? Mr. Riley, you okay?
I'm just sitting here listening to the conversations, and I'm not too sure this shouldn't be tabled so he can go back and really investigate this thing and see what he can really come up with that's in the marketplace today, and come back to us with something that's more reasonable. That's what I'm thinking.
But I think, Mr. Urban, so if we did the 30 by 48, that ends up being the 1440. And I think what Jim's saying is, and that adds up to 2376. So rather than saying 2376 to come up with an exact number, he's more saying something to do 2450 total or something, so that they have some range to do it. Is that what I understand?
Well, or maybe a percentage, I don't know, you know, where you were doing the math on 60% versus 30%. That way it doesn't, again, give a specific footprint or a specific size, because they came in with an application for a particular building. I just asked them if they had investigated other sizes, and I think the answer is no. So rather than tabling it, maybe you did a percentage, and I don't know whether that works out.
We would have to say no greater than this amount.
No greater than some percentage, right? And then that gives them, maybe the building changes and it's a 50 by something, or whatever it might be. So again, I'm just trying to,
Yeah, so
since we're,
either a percentage over the 1,800 or no more than 2450 square feet, which gives them an extra 75 if it was 30 by 48.
something that has more flexibility, right?
So Mike, I think, great point. We could ask the table, or we could take a motion with what we're talking about here. Go ahead and conclude the application with whatever motion we make, and if they want to make an adjustment and come back next month with something different, they can. So there's two ways to do it. We can either table it and have them come back, or
Yeah.
go ahead with a motion.
Yeah, I just kind of feel that if we're sitting here, we're trying to rebuild the bicycle is why we're riding the bicycle.
Yeah.
That's where I'm coming from.
I agree with Mike on that.
All right, so are you considering the correct course would be to ask to table?
Yes, then we know
All right, that
exactly
is-
what we're dealing with, yeah.
My concern with that, though, is that if you do that, that puts them another month behind going into the
Correct.
winter.
That's exactly what I was gonna say.
So I would rather see us give them some latitudes, and if they feel like they really want to push us on that latitude, they could come back, as opposed to it's going to stop them from progressing going into the winter.
So why not go ahead and conclude with a motion, and if they want to do something different, they can come back with a different.
A very.
Right,
they're asking
and since you're asking them to consider a smaller size building and they haven't investigated, if you give them a little flexibility in that in your motion, I don't know exactly how you want to do that, but rather than
Okay.
a particular size, it might be that percentage or the square footage area, whatever it might be that allows them to go investigate a different building.
All right, so thank you. So I haven't closed the floor yet. We're at a point where we're asking questions of anybody else. Do we have any further questions before we?
I would like to ask the applicant which way they would prefer.
Okay, very good.
Whether they'd rather table it, or whether us approve something.
Very good. If we can have the applicant come forward.
Prove it right now.
Thank
Don't
you
know
very
what
much.
I
You
am.
may take a seat. Okay. Any other questions? Rob, questions? Jim?
So as always, Amy's very efficient, and she's on the internet looking at size packages, and the suggestion would be that you give them a square footage as opposed to a percentage. It's going to be a lot easier to figure out.
Okay.
So if you want to say it's 2,500 square feet, then there would be a 48 by 32 building, or that would give them, again, that little bit of flexibility to be able to reduce the size, but not have to come back.
All right, very good. Thank you. Thank you, Amy. All right, any other questions, board members? Rob? All right, I'm going to close the floor. Now let's open up for general discussion. It sounds like we are all on the same line of thinking here. It sounds like what's before us is possibly excessive, and we're trying to figure out different ways to make something work. At least I know that's the direction I'm on. I will say that I don't see that fitting within the guidelines as we currently have them as too much of a hardship. I think an additional 1,056, or I'm sorry, 1,800 square feet, I think would certainly satisfy the existing need. But what they're asking for is for future use. So I'm okay to even go above and beyond, the maximum allowable to fit within the requirements today. Go ahead.
So again, I think you're exactly right. I think the tenor here is we're trying to figure out how to work something out, because they've got the need, the desire to do some things and put some things indoors. I applaud that. I mean, that I think what they're trying to accomplish is reasonable to try to accomplish it. I think that the lie is it's on the low end of the 1 to 2.99. But when you look at what they're trying to accomplish and what they're trying to do it, again, it's a matter of degree, how much.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I feel much more comfortable approving something a little smaller. And I like the suggestion by staff to give some latitude to let them figure it out, since that's not the plan they came in with. So to be specific, there's 936 square feet of the current structure, accessory structure on the property. and we do the math of 48 by 30, it's another 1,440 square feet, which would make it 2376. So based on staff's recommendation to not get specific and make it 2376, we would need to go, and this is discussion, so the question is, okay, so we give them a little more. So do you make it 24? Do you make it 2450? I mean, what do you guys,
Well, 2,400 feet would be 33% over the allowable. That's a lot better than 58.6.
And that achieves what they had said would be reasonable, which is 48, it's greater than the 48 by 30. Yeah, I'm perfectly happy with that.
make it a 2400?
I'm perfectly fine with that.
Fine with me.
All right. Any other discussion? Okay, ready to take a motion?
Move to approve OC-19-036 for a maximum floor area variance for proposed accessory structure. Based on the testimony of the desire to make the neighborhood look nice by having vehicles inside, trailers inside, based on the testimony of the limitation of the current accessory structure won't allow things like a Class A motorhome to be inside, and then based on the discussion of trying to come up with a reasonable method, and I realize that's judgment, a reasonable amount to be over, move to approve because it will not alter the essential character of the neighborhood. It will not cause a hazard or nuisance to the public, and will have minimal effect in the general neighborhood. The variance shall only apply to the application considered at the October 17th, 2019 Oldham County Board of Adjustments public hearing, and the structure shall not be used for commercial purposes or as a living space.
I second that motion.
I think you need to clarify, you never mentioned that the two accessory structures shall not exceed 2,400 square feet.
I didn't catch you saying that either.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
That's why I'm here.
Yeah, I didn't say that.
Yeah.
So, yes, I'm modifying it to say the total of both accessory structures shall not exceed 2,400 square feet. Yeah, that's kind of an important piece of it.
Over the allowable.
I'm just saying not exceed 2,400 square feet, which is over the 1,800 that's in the standard.
Okay, all right. All right, we have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It's been approved. Okay, other business.
All right. So, I'm sorry? So at last month, or 2 months ago, I believe it is the August hearing, we heard or an application was before the board, docket OC 19029, for a conditional use permit and a variance in the total maximum floor area. At the conclusion of the hearing, the board had voted to approve the conditional use permit, but after that, we were supposed to vote on the variance. We just moved right on to OC 19030. So Director Urban and I spoke with our Assistant County Attorney Tate Combs yesterday, and we had determined that due to there being no opposition and it being a fairly, for lack of a better word, easy case, we would open it back up to the board and then have the vote made, and then, if I'm speaking correctly, and then we could vote to, or make a determination on the variance, and then at that point close it, and then move forward to the certificate of land use restrictions, which is how we found out about this deficiency in the first place.
All right. The only question I have is the, around the legality, and I just want to make sure we've, as Rob said, dotted the i's, crossed the t's, as far as notices, as far as contacting the neighbors, and,
We've already done that. We had a full hearing. There was not a soul here to object
all right.
or oppose any opposition to it. It's been fully litigated, as far as I'm concerned, before this board, and the only issue was to take the vote at that point. And just glossed over it. I don't understand how it happened, but it did happen. You've already voted on the conditional use and approved that. And I think it's just a perfunctory motion at this point to go forward with the variance. It was, the only issue I had with it was, would you all recall what we did? And how to, you know, and would we need to maybe review some of the testimony that was given? But if you're familiar with it, then I think we're ready to make a motion on the variance.
And one thing to add, Mr. Combs, is that we've passed a 30-day appeal period, so even though there was nobody there, nobody filed an appeal, so we're past all the administrative procedures for this. We just need to kind of go back and correct that we didn't take this action.
So the one vote without the second, you need both for him to technically move forward, and obviously we approved the first.
and there was no 30-day, nothing in a
Nothing in
30-day.
appeal, so yeah, makes sense.
Right.
All right.
In front of you today, we have a sample findings and decisions for the variance portion.
All right, board members, other board members, do you all recall the case? Do we need to put the minutes back up? Do we need,
Just to make sure, can you just tell us what the case was in general, just to make
Sure.
sure we're all thinking of the right one?
Absolutely.
Is this the one, Tom, that's pretty close to where 53 intersects with US 42?
Correct. So
Got
here's a copy of the zoning map, if you all remember this graphic. Ryan Reddick has property here. This is his primary residence. This is the extra piece of property that he had purchased quite a few years ago, maybe 4 to 5. The reason I remember the board had asked, well, okay, why don't you put these two together? Well, he had the issue where he cannot put the two pieces of land together, because he has loans on both of them. So instead of waiting, say 10 years to pay off the loan, then put them together, well, he could satisfy that and get really where he wants to go with the conditional use permit for an accessory structure without a primary at this lot, which is the reason for the conditional use. The reason for the variance is because per the lot sizes, you can go up an additional square footage. He's over by 700 some odd square feet. And I can get you that number.
That's enough for me.
Okay.
I think we're good.
Okay.
all right. All right, any further questions? Tom, you okay?
Fine.
You ready for a motion?
Yeah, if there's no further questions, everybody's good? I'm ready for a motion.
Okay. Motion to approve docket OC-19-029 for a variance in total maximum floor area because regulatory floor area will not meet the needs of the applicant, so he can store material and work on his automobiles. In addition, there will be a supporting workshop area in the structure. Additional approval support is it will not be a hazard or nuisance to the public. It will not adversely affect public health, safety, or welfare. Conditions of approval. The maximum floor area variance shall only apply to the plan considered at the August 15th, 2019 Oldham County Board of Adjustments public hearing.
And I just want to clarify, this is my sample motion, and then after the email, Mr. Riley had responded with, those were his sample motions, so that's why these aren't seeing the lineup.
I need a second.
Well, he didn't have a second condition, that was.
There. On the screen, if you look at down here, it says on your screen, the structure shall not be used for commercial purposes.
Oh, gotcha. The structure should not be used for commercial purposes or as a living space.
Shouldn't we have a modification that the variance shall only apply to application considered at the August 15th, 2019 and today's?
Well, I think you can make include in your motion that you incorporate all the evidence from the August 15th hearing. Then that way it covers everything. You have all the information in that's.
So what was that wording again?
You incorporate the minutes and all the testimony and evidence from
From
the
the
August
August
15th
15th.
hearing.
Yeah, what he said.
Okay. We also are going to incorporate the minutes and the testimony of the August 15th, 2019 public hearing.
Okay. All right. All right, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It's been approved. All right, any other business? Minutes. Okay, everybody has a copy of the minutes. Are there any changes? This is for the September. Good. Mike? Weren't here? Okay, Tom, you good?
I'm good.
Okay. Can I get a motion?
Move to approve the September 19th, 2019 Board of Adjustments and Appeals minutes for the meeting as submitted.
I'll second.
Discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Minutes approved?
We have received one application so far, for the, November Oldham County Board of Adjustments, so we will have a meeting next month. But filing deadline's not till October 30th, but we already have received one application. So we will have a November meeting.
And I will not be at the November meeting.
November, you just said the November hearing. November's coming up quick, isn't it? The year end is coming up quick. Do we have any, anything with training, or any board member at jeopardy with training?
I'll have to look. I sent it out last month, so
Was it last month?
yeah, I don't know off the top of my head of who's where, because people are on different training
I know,
cycles
I
too,
know.
so
I know.
I can send it out again.
Please do so. All right, anything else?
Thank you for doing that. It's the kind of thing that always
I know it, I know. Okay, I need a motion. Yes, Tom.
So, we have, staff has concluded the first review of the goals and objectives, and we have strike-throughs we have prepared for the SRC meeting a week from today, be held at 5 o'clock in the room across the hallway. And also, it is a training opportunity for the board and any other elected or appointed official.
Fantastic.
So
Okay.
we look forward to hopefully having you all there and getting your input, and thank you for your time.
Fantastic, thank you.
I'll be out of town.
I'll try to make it. All right, anything else? All right, can I get a motion to adjourn?
I have a motion to adjourn.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Meeting adjourned.
Staff says aye. Aye.